Once upon a time, a bunch of people settled into a seemingly magical land, where there was plant and life everywhere, and everyone lived in a perfect harmony. These people had developed very impressive kingdoms, and they haven't even been here that long yet. However, unknowingly, these people had made one significant mistake, and that is that they accidentally settled in Australia, which any logical person would know exactly what's wrong with living here. So as soon as the clock struck 50 years like so, hell began to break loose. Bombs began falling all across the country. Not a single piece of land was spared. Hell clouds began sweeping across the countryside. Volcanoes began erupting seemingly out of thin air. The world had shifted into a seemingly eternal age of chaos. And by the end of all of these tragedies, the world ended up looking like this. Not a single soul remaining alive, and quite literally, no hope for anything positive to ever happen to this world again. But still, we are going to be following this lifeless, hopeless, empty corpse of a once great nation for 1,000 years to see just what comes out of it. And you're probably already thinking to yourself that nothing much is gonna happen. I mean, just look at it. I would say there's two main things wrong with it. First off, it's just really hellish and there's lava everywhere and there's no one alive either. But the second part is it's Australia, which, doesn't help anything at all. But as we click unpause here, you're gonna notice that not a lot is going on here. But still, if we go into our world laws, you'll notice that almost every single world law is on here, maximizing the chance for positive stuff to happen. But there's also one more factor we're gonna throw into play here that could potentially change this world forever. At year 60, 3 mysterious kingdoms popped up, full of elves out of all creatures. But why elves? That is because the elves can create very unique religions. Religions that are almost guaranteed to include one specific trait, the create grass trait, which means they can make any kind of land come alive with fresh grass. Nice. And since there are 3 of these religions with that exact same trait, as time passes throughout the challenge, this world may slowly get reclaimed by grass and other biomes, allowing even more types of life to spawn in, and possibly, for the first time ever, make Australia a somewhat decent place to live. But as we let time move forward, these kingdoms will begin quickly expanding. However, despite these kingdoms having a similar goal in mind, they are still kind of, just a tiny bit racist. That's never good. But I mean, since they all have the same religion traits, it's not like it really matters. But what I'm trying to say here is they're still going to try to beat the crap out of each other. But these guys desperately need some time to expand. So we are going to begin a short time lapse 250 years from when this challenge began, which in our case would be at year 300. And we're going to see if the elves have made any progress. And here we are at year 300, and I guess all that racism paid off. Not a great thing to say, but I'm just saying these guys right here were the most racist, and they've taken over the world now, so take that as you will. But in terms of everything, our world actually looks worse than when it started. I'm not lying, because these oceans over here were not filled out when I started. There was a lot of holes in it, because I did it all manually. Now the entire lava ocean is full, and looking into the elves village, there's quite literally almost no signs of change at all. Actually, a devastating earthquake hit right here, as you can see by the inferno biome being gone. Luckily, it wasn't one of the ones that changed the level of the land, but as you can see, it destroyed about, 50 houses, probably killing a couple hundred people in the process. But if you look very, very closely, you can see that some grass has returned. Not much, but just enough to give me a tiny bit of hope. But looking around the map even more, I can see a few little specks like right here, a couple right here, and that literally might be it. The world is still terrible. There have been over 5,000 deaths now, a lot of which are from conflict and even 12 from drowning. Wait, what? How? Look, where's the water? That's genuinely impressive how 12 people managed to die like that. But all things considered, that is essentially everything that has happened so far. However, now it's time to tell you about something else I plan to do. Since 250 years have passed, we are actually going to change some things. And don't worry, it's not anything physically on the map using any of my powers. hours, so it's not actually cheating. But every single time we do one of these 250-year time lapses, we are going to half the amount of Age of Chaoses. So we will have Age of Chaos, and then the Age of Tears, the Age of Wonders, the Age of Hope, and then an interesting Age of Ice, which will hopefully completely reshape the entire world. But one more thing we're going to do is turn off eternal lava so that the lava could actually cool off into mountains of all things, and also turn off biome overgrowth, which seems kind of weird, but if the biomes are constantly trying to overgrow each other, any grass biomes that spawn in are probably just going to get retaken over by the inferno biome, so this will hopefully help prevent that. But with everything situated, this time lapse right here is going to be very interesting too, as we're going to head another 250 years to year 550 and see what the world looks like then. And here we are at year 550, and clearly a lot has changed. All those ages have really messed with a lot here. The lava ocean has finally been pierced through a bit. In most areas, it's just a few sprinkles of mountains where the rock is hardened. However, in certain parts, like right here and right here, the entire ocean has filled up to a degree, which is what we're going to hope to see more of in these next 500 years. But if we look into the actual land itself, look at that. Lots of grass everywhere. In certain areas, you can even see actual normal trees appearing once again. However, you know, there's still a lot of burning, death, starvation. You know what I just realized? There have been 11,000 total deaths, and only 300 of them are natural. Literally almost no one has actually lived their full lives. Like usual, most of them have just simply died from burning and conflict, and also from drowning and water. First of all, I don't even know the difference between this, and how has it gone up 8 times since last time? I thought there was a chance that last time maybe those drownings just came from like people before the world went to crap, but now that more deaths has happened, somehow people are still drowning even when the entire world is full of hell. I guess there actually is a possibility though, as we do see a little, and I mean very little, lake that has popped up right here in southern Australia, but there's no way that this small amount of water right here has killed almost 100 people. And if it has, we should probably be a bit concerned. And yep, as I just did a sweep of all of the remaining land, this is actually the only source of water, so let's just stay away from here. But if we turn off all the kingdom views, this is what our world looks like now. I would say it's about 25 to 30% grass now, which is only going to increase with time, although I am realizing that this looks like really terrifyingly ugly right here. But once again, like I said last time, we are going to halve the number of Age of Chaoses once again, which we're going to replace with another Age of Tears, and then just a normal Age of Hope, leaving only 2 Age of Chaoses left. And honestly, at this point, this video has been a lot more interesting than I thought it would be, considering I had literally have never tested this before, and I thought there was, you know, like a small chance that nothing happened and we kind of wasted all of our time. But hey, at least that didn't happen, so you can't legally be mad at me. But anyway, with everything set in place, we are going to sim another 250 years, which is now to year 800, and we're going to leave it with the kingdom views off so you could easily see the map change, and I'll see you guys then. And here we are at year 800. Even more progress has been made, but at this point, Australia is almost unrecognizable. The oceans have filled up even more. New land masses have entirely opened up, because when this lava freezes, it doesn't turn into the mountains, it actually turns into the hills where people can walk and even resources can spawn on, meaning that these kingdoms can use those to their advantage. But speaking of the land, even more grass has begun to return, with like entire patches of pretty much completely normal grass being able to be found with nice trees. Like if I zoom in right here and you look really closely and ignore all the bad stuff, it looks pretty good, right? But then you still have areas over here where it's still just completely hellish. But our kingdoms, or I guess kingdom, are doing pretty good, as they are now up to 1,000 people. And you know, yeah, they still like to beat the crap out of each other or whatever, but they've only killed 3,000 of one another. And despite there being over 5,000 more deaths since the last 250 years, only 37 of those were natural. And and over 100 of them were from drowning. You have to be kidding me, because this is still the only lake here. But one last thing I actually kind of want to check here is what other animals or creatures could have spawned in. So, literally nothing over here except for 17 rats and 3 crabs. Always crabs. Every single time. I just can't escape them. A couple of mages, a skeleton, oh, and even an angle. I think he's in the wrong spot right now. But still, our world is looking great, and we have 250 years left until 1000 has passed. But like usual, we are going to get rid of one more Age of Chaos and just replace it with another Age of Tears, and that will round out the rest of our calendar. But you know, we're also going to get rid of the Age of Ice here because it didn't really seem to be doing much. And if you think about it, isn't there like also like a really cold ice layer in hell? Isn't that one of the layers? So technically this would actually be making everything worse. So we're gonna replace that with the Age of Wonders. But now it is time for the last 250 years. I think there's a lot of potential for some good stuff to happen. So I'll see you guys then. And here we are, 1000 years later. But let's take a look at our world right now. The lava oceans have filled in even more. I think there's finally more hills now than there is lava, which is huge. I also like how Tasmania was like also slowly brought up by the lava ocean too, and now it's actually connected to the Australian mainland. But looking back into the mainland now, I mean, right here in this area, we have like a whole region full of grass biome, where it's actually more rare to see the inferno biome. But obviously there are still areas full of inferno too, and even more people alive now. This has honestly been really fantastic. However, honestly, if you look at it, the world almost looks unfinished. It's like it's in progress of becoming great once again, but yet our time constraints has stopped it here. But you know, honestly, this is probably still better than what current Australia looks like, so that's a win. But you know, if this video does really well and gets 10,000 likes, I will do this challenge again for 10,000 years. And I guarantee you in that amount of time, we will be able to see an entire new world emerge. But yeah, for now, this is all we got. In the end, 23,000 people died. About a third of that from hunger, which is to be expected, and only 356 natural deaths. And yeah, still over 300 combined deaths from water. Moral of the story is just stay away from the cursed lake. But anyway, that was absolutely awesome, and that's about all for today. Like I said, if you want to see more, go ahead and click like and subscribe, and also join my Discord too. It's pretty fun in there. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Farewell.